Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. There we go. Okay. All right. Did all the children get handouts that we needed to hand out? I know we've got several of them here. Well, we're running low on people tonight, aren't we? I guess the rain, they're scared of rain. I hate that. I wish people would be here. All of our elders are meeting tonight in a room to discuss some things, so we missed them. I wish they were in here, to be honest with you, because this is a good lesson that they need to hear too. And they should be in here. And I'll tell them that too. Would you tell them that? Tell them they should have been in here, that they missed a lot. Be good for them. All right? All right. So I'm excited about tonight's lesson. I'm excited about the content of it more than anything. And I know I've got handouts for all of our kids. And so I want to encourage the kids, if you don't have crayons or something like that or something to write with, make sure you've got that to be able to fill those things out. There's a fill in the blank on one side of it and then a little activity sheet on the other side of it. And I think that'll be really good. The BBs just came in over here. I've got handouts for you guys. Whoop. There you go. Thank you. All right. All right. Well, tonight, wow, it's a great lesson, and I'm really excited about it. We've been continuing on in these lessons from everything I ever learned. I learned in Vacation Bible School and talking about the different songs. And we have covered The Wise Man, Father Abraham, Row the Gospel Chariot. And then last week, I've got Peace Like a River, Love, Joy Like a Fountain, Love Like the Ocean. And tonight, I don't know if there is an actual official name to this song. I just called it Please Don't. And it deals with different aspects. So we're going to sing this song of Please Don't. And I'll show you the slides first because I want you to see and just notice how hilarious they really are as we go through there. First of all, the first lyric is, please don't smoke, give your tobacco to a billy goat. And I thought about, why a billy goat? Well, billy goats will eat anything. They eat trash. And so that kind of equates the idea of giving your tobacco to a billy goat. The second line is, please don't dip, it will rot out your bottom lip. And got a little kid there with a good bottom lip. Hopefully he's not dipping just yet, keeping that away from him. And then the next line is, don't drink booze, save your money and buy some shoes. And I like that. Who's the person down there in the bottom corner? Yeah, Otis Campbell, right? From the Andy Griffith Show. He was the town drunk. And I thought that would be funny to put up there for that. And then the last one is, please don't curse. I can't think of anything that's worse. And that's a good one there. And then the last one is, worship God. Don't spend Sunday with the fishing rod. So let's sing this song together. I'm not going to make you stand because there's no major movements. There's a little bit right there at the very end. But we'll do some of that as well. So let's sing this song together, and we'll move it back to the first part of it. You ready? Please don't smoke, give your tobacco to a billy goat. Please don't smoke, give your tobacco to a billy goat. Please don't dip, it will rot out your bottom lip. Please don't dip, it will rot out your bottom lip. Don't drink booze, save your money and buy some shoes. Don't drink booze, save your money and buy some shoes. Please don't curse, I can't think of anything that's worse. Please don't curse, I can't think of anything that's worse. Worship God, don't spend Sunday with the fishing rod. Worship God, don't spend Sunday with the fishing rod. Okay, so what does that teach us? Well, there's a lot that it does teach us. But what's interesting about this song is it's really not a a lesson, a song that I have to take and teach you a lesson about smoking, dipping, and drinking booze and cursing. I don't have to tell you all those things are bad. I think you know that. I think you do. And I could show you Bible verses that would support that, smoking, dipping, drinking booze, cursing, all of that is bad. It's a bad thing. And I think that you know that. And I don't think that I have to teach you that your priority on Sunday mornings or whenever the church is meeting is that you would be in church or in Bible class. I don't think I have to teach you that there's anything more important than being with the church, period. Okay? No amount of schoolwork, no amount of job, no amount of meetings are more important than being in worship with your church family. So that's what's important, okay? I don't have to teach you that. You know that, right? So this lesson is not a lesson on drugs and alcohol. This is not a lesson on those kinds of things. But really, it's a lesson in its simplicity of just making good decisions. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to play a game, okay? And let's see, how many kids do... If you're a kid, raise your hand. How many kids we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 kids. Okay, let's just get them all up here. I think they should all play this game, okay? Let's get them all up here. All right? We're going to play a game, and here's what we're going to do, okay? We'll play one at a time, so they're all contestants in this game, okay? So everybody line up right over here. I know. There you go. Line up right over there. Oh, Walter, are you first? You do know the Bible says that the first shall be last and the last shall be first, right? Okay. He's all right with it. Okay, so here's the way that we're going to play this game. It's going to be really, really simple. I'm going to throw some pictures of candy, which I have right here on hand, up here on the screen, okay? And I'm going to do it pretty quick, okay? And you're just going to have to say, stop, okay? And whenever it stops, that's the candy that you're getting. Okay? Are you ready? Get ready. Get ready. Are you ready? Okay. All right. So Walter stopped on... Whoop, I hit it too back. There we go. Walter stopped on the double bubble. Okay, my friend. There you go. You've already got gum in your mouth, though, don't you? Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. All right. Are you ready? Okay, we're going to start over. You just tell me when to stop, okay? All right. Oh, right there. Okay. There you go. All right. All right, there you go. All right, now next. You ready, buddy? Mr. BB, are you ready? All right, we're going to start over. All right, here we go. You just tell us when to stop. Oh, on the bubble, double bubble. Okay, that's a very popular one. I hate this gum. It's revolting. It lasts for about 3 seconds, and it just tastes like you're chewing on tar before too long. Okay. All right, you ready, my friend? All right, here we go. You just tell me when to stop. On double bubble too? What is wrong with these kids? It's good. It's good. Okay. Well, fine. Okay. Hey, if you've already played the game, you may go sit down, okay? Let's do that. Are you ready, my friend? Okay. Here we go. We'll back it up. You haven't even really seen what's up there yet. You might want something besides double bubble. Oh, M&M's. Okay, that's a good choice, my friend. M&M's is a good choice. All right, there. Take one to your dad because I know he'll want one. You'll have to share otherwise. All right, you ready, Miss June? Okay. All right, here we go. You just tell me when. All right? Oh, Starburst. Okay. All right, we'll go back. There you go, sister. All right. Yes, ma'am. No, that's too many questions. No, I'm kidding you. I'm kidding you. All right, you ready? All right. Okay, on Skittles, right? Okay. All right, let's see here. There we go. Move back. Okay, so there's 3 different flavors right there. There you go, my friend. Have a good night. You ready, Miss Adeline? Okay. You just tell me when, okay? All right, here we go. You've already got gum in your mouth. You know that, right? Is it double bubble? Okay. Is it good gum? Oh, stop on the 3 Musketeers. Okay. 3 Musketeers. Oh, here it is. Okay. There you go. You're very welcome. Okay. Okay. Are you ready, Lila? All right, let's get back here. All right. Here we go. Oh, on the blow pop. Okay. On the blow pop. That's easy. That's some of my favorites. There's one of that flavor, one of that flavor. Cindy Davis, we're just trying to keep you in business. Okay? Trying. There you go. All right. It's 3. There you go. Okay, you ready? All right. You just tell me when. Okay? On the Nerds. Okay. Great. That's one of my favorites. You know what I like to do with Nerds? I like to take them and put them in my mouth, a whole box of them, and just store them over there in the cheek of my, and just wait for them to dissolve. That's really good for my teeth. It rot your teeth right out. That's my favorite thing to do right there. Okay, are you ready? All right. All right, here we go. You just tell me when, my friend. On M&M's, okay. All right, let's pull that back. I went probably too far here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Take this to your dad, too. I'm sure he'll want one. All right, you ready to go? All right. Nobody chooses Smarties. It's the first one. It's one of my favorites. That's another one where I like to unwrap it completely, stick the whole sleeve of them in my mouth, and just let them dissolve. Because they don't. Each individual color doesn't have a different flavor, I don't think. I don't know. I've never really taken the time to eat them. Are you keeping up with this? Okay. Oh, Milky Way. Good. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites for sure. All right, there you go, sister. All right. Are you ready? Have you been in line yet? Have you already gone through here? Oh, okay, just checking. I'm just messing with you. I know you hadn't. I was just messing with you. Okay, you ready? You tell me when. On the 3 Musketeers? On that one? All right. There you go, sister. All right. Are you ready? You're my last contestant. You get all of the candy. You believe that? You know? All right, you got to make a decision. All right? Here we go. You waited so patiently in line. Okay, well. You people with this double bubble. I almost didn't get it because I think it's so disgusting. But whatever. Have fun with that, okay? All right. What I love about this And adults, if you want some candy afterwards, feel free to come up here and get some. Not during our Bible class or anything like that. But what I love about this is tonight we really gave our kids this scenario where they had to make a decision. And it's so simple of a decision. It's a harmless decision to make. And right now, that's the kind of decisions that we want our children to be making. Those easy decisions. I remember my mother telling me, I try to make things as easy on you as possible when you were a kid so that you didn't have to make the harder decisions. I chose what movies we watched. I chose what we would watch on TV so you didn't have to make those kinds of decisions. So we want to do that for our kids right now and coach them along so that later on in life when they're faced with making decisions, they'll know what to do. Because really, this lesson tonight, I'm going to go back through. I don't know if anybody actually saw all the ones that we had up there. But all of the candy that's up there, you can't go wrong except that one double bubble. I don't think there's a very good choice to make as far as candies are concerned. That's one of my favorites. Does anybody else love those? And those do have different flavors. I like that. All right. I think, Laffy Taffy. I love that one. It comes with a joke. It's my favorite one. And I laugh. I read them and I laugh at those for sure. Snickers. Man, that's one of my favorites. I love a Snickers. And my dad always gets, mad when you give him the fun size. He says, it's just enough to make you mad. Where you really have to eat 2 of them, But anyway, but you know what? All of us make decisions every single day of our lives. You cannot live your life without making a decision. You decide whether to get up or not, or lay there in bed. You decide to eat breakfast or not, or even what you're going to eat breakfast. You decide to put on your seatbelt. You decide to drive fast or drive slow. You decide to work hard or be lazy. You decide to pay attention or lollygag. Is that a word, lollygag? I don't know. Y'all don't understand what I'm talking about. You decide how to respond to confrontation. Okay? When something happens that you don't like, you decide how you're going to respond to that. You decide how you are going to respond to encouragement. I know some people that when they get encouragement or positive feedback, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to decide, how to respond to that. Okay, and so sometimes they don't even respond at all, and that's odd to me. Someone encourages me, but I soak it in. I appreciate it. I need that. You respond. You make a decision on how you're going to respond to temptation and to sin. You decide how to respond to hearing the gospel or really any kind of biblical teaching. You'll make a decision tonight what you'll about it. When Jesus is preaching in the Sermon on the Mount, the very end of it, in chapter 7 of the book of Matthew, he is telling the people that he wants to be a part of the kingdom, that they've really got a decision to make. He tells them in Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14, he says, enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who will enter through it. For the gate is small and the way is narrow that leads to life, and there are few who find it. And so he's giving them an option. He gives them a decision to make. You either choose the narrow way, the narrow gate, or you choose the wide gate. And this one leads to eternal life. This one leads to destruction. And so you have to make a decision of what way that you're going to go. Certain circumstances or certain decisions have different consequences that come with it. Okay? And it's so important for us to see that, because the decisions that you make as a young person, you may have to face the consequences of those decisions the rest of your life. The rest of your life. And it's so hard to teach that to young people. They don't see that. They don't know that. They live in the here and the now. And they're not concerned about what the future may hold. And boy, I wish we could really teach them that the decisions they make now, both good and bad, have consequences. Now, a lot of times when we think of consequences, we only think of it in the negative sense. We say, if you make that bad decision, you're going to have to face the consequences. Well, that's negative. But sometimes consequences are a positive thing. In other words, what the outcome is of that good decision might be a good thing. And you face those consequences as well. King David, oh boy, he decided to act upon what he saw from his rooftop one evening, and it resulted in lies, it resulted in conspiracy, it resulted in murder, and even the death of a child. One simple decision that he made. Oh, what a terrible situation. Lot had to make a decision about where he was going to live and had to deal with the ungodliness of the city that he had chosen to live in Sodom. And he lost all of his possessions and even lost his wife because of the decision that he made. That's the consequences that we face. We've got to make good decisions. So when you think, please don't smoke, please don't smoke, please don't dip, please don't drink booze, don't curse. These are decisions, but your life is full of them, and you're facing those consequences in one way or another, both good and bad. And I think this is what I teach my kids. I wish Rachel was in here. I really do, because I know that I have sat there with her and talked about these 5 things. It's so easy. These 5 life-altering main decisions. I know I talked to her about this before she obeyed the gospel back in February. And I will probably bring these 5 decisions up again in her life because some of them she hasn't made yet. But these are life-altering decisions. And I think you might be able to come up with a 6th one. I like 5. I like 5 because it's right here on your hand and maybe you can remember them. Okay? But there are 5 main decisions that people make that influence their entire lives. Their entire lives. First of all, deciding who you are friends with. Who are your friends? That can be a life-altering decision that you make. Having close friends can be a wonderful blessing. Proverbs 17:17 says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." I think that's interesting. My brother's not here tonight. He should be. He should be here tonight, but he's not. And I think I know why this proverb writes what it does when it says that the brother is born for adversity. Sometimes brothers butt heads. Did you know that? But that friend, just enough disconnect. There's no blood between you. That friend is there and loves at all times. And that sometimes can be a good thing. You hope that your friends would be honest with you. And so the idea is that even when you're going through tough times or when you've made mistakes, that friend is right there for you. And that friend makes all the difference in your life. But wrong friends can be a terrible, terrible thing, a terrible curse. Proverbs 13 and verse 19 through 21 says, "A fulfilled desire is sweet to the soul, but turning from evil is disgusting to fools. Whoever walks with wise people will be wise, but whoever associates with fools will suffer." Whoever is a friend of fools will suffer. "Disaster hunts down sinners, but righteous people are rewarded with good." And you know this passage, 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 33. He says, "Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts" what? Do you know? Good morals. And the context of 1 Corinthians 15, it's so important because some of we pick this verse right out and we don't really know what he's talking about. It's so important for us to realize that he's talking about the resurrection of Jesus. And there are people that didn't believe in it, that were struggling with it. And Paul is teaching them that if you are going to be with people, if you're going to make company with people that don't believe in the resurrection, you may find yourself at one time or another also not believing in the resurrection. And that principle carries over to every single aspect of your life. If you hang out with people who smoke, you probably are going to end up smoking yourself. or dip, or drink booze, or don't worship God, or curse. All those things, it ends up being you as well. Bad company corrupts good morals. So who you choose as a friend is vitally important. It's a life-altering decision that you make. Who you decide is your friends. I think it's so important that we teach our young people. I wish our teenagers were here. Boy, they need to hear this. Man, they need to hear this. Your friends need to be those that are in the youth group. That's who needs to be your friends. Your friends need to be those that you can go to church with. Your closest friends. Now, I'm not saying you don't ever be friends with anybody else. I'm not saying that. We've got a job to do. We need to teach the gospel to everybody. We need to eat with sinners just in the same way that Jesus did, to love them and show them the way more correctly. Sure. But your closest friends are those that you go to church with. That's what it needs to be. Make sure that they're right there with you. It's so important. Well, the next life-altering decision, I think, that's very important, is deciding what you will do for a living. What you'll do for a living is a life-altering decision. Even from the worldly viewpoint, if you were to look at it from the worldly viewpoint, that decision is important. Any businessman will tell you how important it is to decide what you're going to do for a living. The job market is always changing. It always is. And the wrong choice could lead to financial ruin. It could lead to fiscal hardship. It could be difficult. So you've got to, when you make a decision on what you're going to do for a living, try to choose something that you can be successful at. If you are not a very good communicator, if you struggle with that kind of thing, then probably being a teacher is not a good option for you. Don't try to pursue something like that if that's not in your skill set. Some people are just made for it. If you have an analytical mind, man, maybe you need to be an accountant. Maybe you need to be a doctor. Maybe you need to be a scientist. Something like that. But it's important for you to make decisions. It would be ridiculous to be trying to go door to door right now and try to sell VCRs to anybody. Elijah, do you know what a VCR is? They don't know what a VCR is. You see how ridiculous it'd be? A VCR is something we used to watch movies on. We had VHS tapes that we would put into this machine, and it had actual tape in it that would run through, and it would project on the screen. You would rent movies at a video store, right, and take it home. And it was always be kind, what? Rewind, right? It'd be ridiculous for you to try to go around door to door and try to sell VCRs. And maybe it would be ridiculous for you to try to go door to door and sell DVDs right now. Most people are watching their stuff through streaming. And DVD players are cheap right now. Maybe a Blu-ray player, maybe. But even that is hard to come by. You don't even see very many for sale in our local stores. Not a lot of choices even when it comes to that kind of thing. You got to think about it from the worldly perspective. Can you imagine, let me just go back even further. Can you imagine going door to door trying to sell encyclopedias? Elijah, do you know what an encyclopedia is? He does know that one. Good job, buddy. You'll get an extra piece of candy after this, okay? All right. But still, if you need to know something, what do? You Google it. You Google it. People say, Alex, how do you know so much about technology? Because I just Googled what to do, and it told me. It told me. If I don't know how to do something on anything, I just type. It'd be ridiculous to try to sell encyclopedias. More importantly, this decision of what you'll do for a living can have a lasting effect on your life. It can have a lasting effect on your marriage and your family. Well, I know a guy who has a job where he travels a lot and goes to do welding jobs in other states, in Alaska. I know a guy that's an electrician and goes somewhere else to do electrical work somewhere else away from his family for like 8 to 9 months a year. That's stressful on somebody's marriage. That's difficult. And so when you're making a decision of what you want to do for a living, you got to keep that in mind. It's difficult on your service to God too. Sometimes people make a decision on what kind of job they're going to do, and they work so much at that job that they don't even come to church. That's a bad thing. Christians need to get out of that habit. People say, well, I got to work, so I can't be at church. Well, maybe you got to figure something else out. Maybe you got to figure something else out. Or they'll have odd hours that limit your service to God. Remember, your number one priority is God. When you stand before the judgment day, He's not going to say, well, how many encyclopedias did you sell? No. How successful were you in your service to God and your dedication to Him? That's a big decision to make. So you got to make a choice to honor God first, and that's when you'll be blessed. Jesus says it this way, again in the Sermon on the Mount, in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 33, He says, but seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. What are these things? Well, in the context, He's talking about don't worry about what food you're going to eat or what clothing you're going to wear or the shelter that you need or a place to lay your head. Those are the basic, simple things of life that you need. Legitimately, you need those things. And Jesus says, don't worry about the legitimate things that you need. Don't worry about the legitimate things that you need. You seek first God. You seek first His kingdom and His righteousness. And God will take care of you. I've never seen a member of the church go hungry. Never really. If you're an active part of our congregation and you were legitimately hungry, don't you know we would all feed you? If you were a part of us, of the kingdom, and you didn't have the clothes that you needed, don't you know that the kingdom, the church, would take care of you? If you didn't have a place to lay your head and you're a part of our church family, we're going to make sure you have a place to lay your head. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these legitimate things, you'll have them. And you don't have anything to worry about. And He says in verse 34, do not worry about enough trouble of its own. You seek first. That's what you got to do. If you making money is the primary factor in your decision about what you're going to do for a living, there's going to be consequences to pay. Here's what Paul writes to Timothy about. In 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 6 through 10, he says, godliness actually is a means of great gain when accompanied by contentment. For we have brought nothing into the world, so we cannot take anything out of it either. If we have food and covering, with these we shall be content. But those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a snare and many foolish and harmful desires which plunge men into ruin and destruction. And here it is, you know this one. For the love of money is the root of all kinds or all sorts of evil. And some, by longing for it, money, have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Surely the Lord's church is not guilty of that today. All right, let's look at another decision, life-altering decision. Where to live? Well, that's exactly where Lot made his mistake. It appeared to him to be of sound business decision, a good sound judgment. In Genesis 13, we find him looking on two different places of land, and Lot lifted his eyes and he saw all the valley of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. This was, and then we have commentary. Moses gives us a little bit of commentary. He says, this was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Thank you, Moses, for letting us know that. He's making that comparison. So when Lot made that decision, it looked great. This is a great place to live. Moses says that it was so good that it was like the garden of the Lord. I think he's talking about the Garden of Eden, don't you think? For himself, all the valley of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed eastward and thus separated from Abraham. While that was a good business decision at the time, he looks at it and thinks, boy, this is a good thing for me to do. Everything's well watered. It's a great place to live. It was a poor moral decision. Verse 13 of Genesis 13 says, now the men of Sodom were wicked exceedingly and sinners against the Lord. And so maybe Lot didn't take that into account when he made that decision. He thought, well, it looks like a good place to be, but boy, was it ever a wicked place. So how do we decide where to live? How do we decide where to live? Well, maybe we think, well, what kind of house can I afford? Maybe that's the decision that we make. What kind is the location to my work? What is the location to school? What kind of schools are available to my children or my future children? Or what about other conveniences? Sometimes Kira and I will drive through, in rural Arkansas, and we go, I don't know how anybody can live out here. I grew up, about 8 miles outside. Greenbrier was a small town when I was growing up. We had maybe 2,000 people. It's grown quite a bit. There's probably 6,000, maybe 8,000 people around that area now. It's grown a lot. But when I was growing up as a small town, I lived 8 miles out of town. And so it took 10, 12 minutes to get into town to get a gallon of milk. And so we didn't eat out very often. We ate at home all the time. It was a pleasure. We might eat out once a week on Sundays, but most times Mom would cook dinner at home. We lived outside, but sometimes Kira and I will drive through those rural places, and I'm going, "Wow, this is so far from everything." And our cell phone signal would go down. I'm like, "How do these people live with no services whatsoever? I don't know how you make it." Well, for us, maybe that's what some people want. For us, it would be a bad decision to move that far out. We live off of Harkey Road here in Batesville. We have a Batesville address towards Bethesda, Harkey Road. We have Bethesda wireless internet, which gives us about, they say, 5 megabytes per second download speed, which is terrible internet, to be honest with you. It's terrible. Can stream some things, but pretty much only one person can stream at a time. Here at the church building right now, I think we're getting like 240 megabytes per second download speed. I know that because we've been dealing with a lot of technology lately trying to live stream. It's crazy. I live 15 minutes from here. 5 to 240. For us, if we were to live any further out and not have that kind of technology and that kind of conveniences, we'd be miserable. We'd be miserable. It wouldn't make sense for us to decide to live that far out. Another decision that somebody makes when they're trying to figure out where to live, they say, well, maybe they need to ask themselves, how can I serve God in His church? Difficult to get to church, if it's difficult to serve, and you've chosen to live in an area, maybe the most popular or populous area in the world, it may still be difficult to serve God right there. I think it was difficult for Lot. And he had lived in that great city of Sodom. So there might be a few places to avoid, but that's a life-altering decision. Another one. We've only got 2 more. So we've talked about who your friends are, where you're going to live, or what you're going to do for a living, and then where you live. Now we talk about deciding who to marry. This decision will determine a great amount of your happiness. Either you will be happy or you will be... I don't know if there's a gray area. I don't know. It may be a struggle for a while. I think if you're struggling, then you probably are leading towards more misery. A great amount of your happiness. Proverbs 12 and verse 4. It says, an excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who shames him is like weakness in his bones. Ugh. And this goes both ways. An excellent husband might be the crown of his wife. You know. Her bones. It could go both ways. It really can. If you decide to marry somebody and they're shameful, and this word shame is so important because it's a word that means discontent. You know, they put shame upon you in some way or another. Who you are. This decision will have a life-changing effect on your children if you decide to have children. Husbands, let me tell you something, husbands. You make sure your children see how much you love their mother. Make sure. Show affection. All right? Kira and I's goal is to just about gross out our children. Let them see us kiss. Let them see us hold hands and make out in the kitchen. I don't want them to see that. I want them to know my dad loved my mother. And they'll learn what that all looks like too. And they'll desire for that as well in their lives. Wives, make sure your children see that you love their father as well and respect him. The world will tell you that if you make a bad decision here, that you can just simply divorce that person and make another decision. That's what the world will tell you. But it's not true. It's a lie of the devil. Lie of the devil. You can't just make that decision. We know what the Bible teaches about divorce, and I'm not going to go into it tonight because that's not what this lesson is about. But we understand that who you decide to marry is life-altering. Either you'll be miserable or you'll be in bliss. Last one is deciding to follow Jesus. So we've covered deciding who your friends are, deciding where you will live, who you will marry, and deciding to follow Jesus. We sing that song, I have decided to follow Jesus. I love the very end of it. No turning back, no turning back, none whatsoever. It's the most important decision of your entire life. Will you follow Jesus or not? Will you become his disciple? Will you refuse everything else, all worldliness, and only commit your way to him? Will you accept the offer of salvation that he gives to you? Jesus simply puts it in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. He breaks down this invitation and he says, come to me, all who are weary and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus is asking you to decide to follow him. It's the most important decision you'll ever make. The decision will determine your place in eternity. Everything else, every other decision, we could probably help you and get you made a bad decision. We can help you, as you're struggling through those other bad decisions. But if you haven't made that decision, You got to make it now. Because if you die and you haven't made that decision to follow Jesus, I can't do anything for you. I can't even help you struggle through that one. It's so life-altering. Not just eternal life-altering, but even right now, here and now. Your life will be completely different if you choose to follow Jesus. And you can do it. Determine your place of eternity. It will influence every other decision that you make. Every decision. Every decision. And as a disciple, you will determine how you obey His will. James puts it this way in James chapter 4. He says, verse 13 and 15, he says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to such..." So there's this quote. Everybody that says, hey, we're going to go and make money in this place during this time. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you just leave it at that, it's not acceptable. He says, yet you do not know what your life will be like tomorrow. You've made all these plans, and you've not really thought about what your life is going to be like. He says, you're just a vapor. You're just here for a little while. A vapor that appears, and then it vanishes away. And then he says, instead, in contrast, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and also do this or do that. So if the Lord will for me to go to such and such city and do business and make a profit, and sure, that's okay. And if you've made this decision to follow Jesus, every decision in your life should be, if the Lord will, I will do this or I will do that. So, how we make decisions. How to make good decisions. Well, let's just break it down really quickly as we're closing out tonight. First thing to do is ask God for help. Ask God for help. He'll give you wisdom. Same book, James chapter 1, very beginning of the book, verse 5. James writes and says, if any of you lacks wisdom. Now you remember the context is that if you're, he says, consider all joy, my brethren, when you're facing various trials, as you're going through struggles. He tells you how to get through that. And as you're going through that struggle, that trial, you need to ask God for help. Ask God for wisdom. And here's this comment that he makes. He says, if any of you lacks this wisdom that you're going to ask of God, let him ask God, who gives to all generously and without reproach, and it will be given to him. So, when you're making decisions in your life, ask God, Lord, help me make this decision. Point me in the right direction. I remember times in Kira and I's life where we were faced with making decisions. And what we really wanted was just clarity in what we needed to decide. Make it obvious to us where we'll know what to do. Ask God for help. Ask for advice. It's safe and it's wise, if they're your true friends, to ask for counsel. Proverbs 11, verse 15 says, where there is no guidance, the people fall. No guidance. And so if you're making decisions without getting help from your friends, if you're making decisions without asking help from your parents, those that love you, you're making decisions without asking help from your ministers, it's going to lead to people falling. But an abundance of counselors. This has been that same verse. An abundance of counselors, there is victory. An abundance of counselors. So I've got a decision to make, and I'm going to ask your opinion on this. I'm going to ask your opinion on this. I'm going to get advice from you. I'm going to try to make a decision based upon this advice. Then I've weighed all my options out, and I feel like I can make what we call in our society an educated guess. because I've seen all the information. But when you're making a decision and not asking for help, well, he says people fall. Proverbs 12 and verse 15 says, the way of the fool is right in his own eyes. He thinks, well, I'll just figure it out all on my own. He says, but a wise man is he who listens to counsel. That's wise men. That's a wise woman who will listen to counsel. Ask friends for advice. The last one is dedicate your decisions to God, or commit it to Him. And really, your whole life should be a commitment to Him. When we commit our decisions to serving God, in other words, your whole purpose, your whole decision that you make is really, how do I serve God with whatever's going on in my life? That's when you're going to find yourself being blessed. And as assuredly as the sun is up at noon, of course it wasn't up today. I'm hoping in the next few days we'll see the sun dry out some of this rain, right? But just as assuredly as that sun is up in the noonday, we'll be blessed. That's what Psalm 37 and verse 5 through 6 says. One of my favorite Psalms. My grandfather used to quote this to us. Verse 5 says, commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He will do it. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your judgment as the noonday, just as much as that sun is up and the light is available to you. You will have righteousness. So it would be wise. It'd be wise to ask God for help. It'd be wise to ask friends for help and advice. And make sure that you dedicate your decisions to God. Commit your way to Him. That your whole purpose in any decision that you make is to serve God. I think it'd be wise to ask God if a decision is not according to His will, that you will know it and you'll be able to move on to a better decision. Make it obvious that that's the wrong decision. That'd be a thing to pray about. Really, really simple. All right. Any questions or anything? I've got just one more little statement I want to bring this all into us before we sing this song one more time. Anything at all? This was a little bit more preachy, and I'm sorry about that one, but this is a good one. And I wish more people could hear it. Maybe they're all watching it at home. Maybe our elders will watch this on the live stream later. That's what I'm hoping for. It's good material. All right, well, here's the last thing. I want to just kind of bring it to us. I went over the logo just a little bit. I apologize for that. So this song, please don't smoke, please don't smoke, give your tobacco to Billy Goat, don't dip. How important it is to make good decisions about what we take in, the smoking, the dipping, the booze, and what we put out, the cursing and the worshiping God. That's what it really boils down to. What I take in as a Christian and what I put out. And we all make decisions on those two things. That's simple. In 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 19 through 20, the Apostle Paul says this, or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, who is your own? You think you're your own. You think that you make the decisions about your whole life, and you do, but you don't own yourself because you are of God. Once you're a Christian, once you've committed yourself to Him, you are not your own. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You are not your own. You have been bought with a price. He says, for you have been bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. This passage is used a lot of times when we try to encourage kids and adults, whoever, not to smoke. Don't dip. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You don't have jurisdiction on what you should do. Matter of fact, you should take your body and present it to God as a living and holy sacrifice. That's what Romans 12 verse 1 says. Let me read it to you. He says, I appeal to you therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. You are not your own. Your body is not yours. You put it on the altar and you give it to God. Every decision that you make in your life should be centered on how you can get your body on the altar and sacrifice it to God. That's what every decision is. That's why we've talked about making good decisions. Very, very simple. All right, let's sing this song together. Let's sing it together. Y'all ready? Please don't smoke, please don't smoke, give your tobacco to a Billy Goat. Please don't smoke, give your tobacco to a Billy Goat. Please don't dip, it will rot at your bottom lip. Please don't dip, it will rot at your bottom lip. Don't drink booze, save your money. Buy some shoes. Don't drink booze, save your money and buy some shoes. Please don't curse, I can't think of anything that's worse. Please don't curse, I can't think of anything that's worse. Worship God, don't spend Sunday with the fishing rod. Worship God, don't spend Sunday with the fishing rod. All right, thank you so much for your attention tonight. Let's close with a word of prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank you so much that you've been blessing us so much to be able to be together tonight, to worship you and to study your word. And we ask, Lord, that you'll help us. Help us to make good decisions with everything that we have in front of us. Help us to seek counsel from you, from our friends, and to commit our way to you. We thank you so much for our time together tonight. It's in your Son's name we pray, and amen.